What if your brain could operate like a satellite, locking onto targets thousands of miles away without ever moving an inch? This isn't fiction. It's called remote viewing, and it was once part of a real US intelligence program. What's up, guys? This is Snail Trail Outdoors, and today we're diving into one of the strangest, most fascinating edges of human consciousness. If it's real, it means your mind isn't bound by your body, and reality might be stranger than it looks. Remote viewing is the idea that anyone under the right conditions can perceive distant or hidden locations using only their mind. Sounds unbelievable, right? But the US government took it seriously enough to fund over 2 decades of research. Not because they believed it worked, but because they feared the Soviets were making real progress in psychic espionage. During the Cold War, intelligence reports claimed that Soviet scientists were experimenting with psychotronic weapons, mind projection, and other anomalous cognition tools. American agencies couldn't afford to fall behind, so they quietly began funding remote viewing experiments through the Stanford Research Institute. Before that, most US scientists wouldn't even consider studying these topics. But strategic pressure changed the rules. If there is even a small chance this worked, it could be a national security asset or threat. So, what exactly is remote viewing? Remote viewing, or RV, is not fortune telling or clairvoyance. It's a structured, testable method for describing a hidden target, a photo, object, or location, without any prior knowledge or sensory input. Viewers would sit in a quiet room, enter a relaxed state, and write or sketch impressions based on only coordinates or cue prompts. In the most controlled cases, even the experimenters themselves didn't know the target, ruling out cueing or fraud. It sounds like guesswork, but trained viewers like Igno Swan, Pat Price, and Joe McMonagle repeatedly produced results that couldn't be dismissed as luck. Igno Swan helped develop coordinate remote viewing, also known as controlled remote viewing, a method designed to reduce interface from the conscious mind. Instead of just trying to see something in your mind, CRV breaks the process into phases, starting with raw impressions like shapes or textures, and slowly building up to more detailed sketches or concepts. In other words, CRV was designed to reduce mental noise and isolate the signal. Pat Price claimed to see inside Soviet bases with astonishing accuracy, even describing interior layouts and machinery. In one well known session, he described a facility with circular crane tracks, unusual machinery, and high security fencing. When satellite images later became available, parts of his description lined up eerily well, down to the shape of certain buildings and the placement of equipment. Whether coincidence, intuition, or something else, his sessions caught the attention of multiple intelligence agencies. Joseph McMonagle was another key figure, a decorated Army intelligence officer and one of the most consistent performers in the program. He conducted hundreds of remote viewing sessions, many of which were operational, meaning they were used to gather actual intelligence, not just for testing. McMonagle claimed to have located hostages, described classified installations, and even identified the construction of a new type of submarine, all details that were later confirmed through reconnaissance. He was awarded the Legion of Merit for his work, which, according to the official records, included over 150 missions related to national security. Whether you believe in remote viewing or not, the US government trusted him enough to keep asking him to come back for over a decade. The program went through many names: Grill Flame, Center Lane, Sunstreak, and eventually Stargate, before being declassified in 1995. Its findings remain controversial, but its existence is not up for debate. So, how could any of this possibly work? There are a few theories, none proven, but all still mind bending. Non local consciousness means that the mind might not be a closed system. Some researchers propose that consciousness is non local, meaning it exists beyond the brain and taps into an extended field of information. In this model, the brain isn't generating awareness, it's accessing it. like a receiver tuning into signals that exist beyond physical space. This theory mirrors certain interpretations of quantum field theory and has parallels in Eastern philosophy, especially Vedanta and Buddhist mind models. Now moving on to quantum entanglement. At the subatomic level, two particles can become entangled, meaning a change to one affects the other instantly, regardless of distance. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Some theorists speculate that consciousness, if it has quantum properties, might operate through similar mechanisms. The collective unconscious. Carl Jung proposed that all humans share a deep inherited layer of the psyche, a collective unconscious, containing archetypes, symbols, and perhaps memory like imprints. If true, remote viewing could be explained as tapping into that shared reservoir, a kind of subconscious internet that stores more than just instincts. In this view, viewers aren't seeing a place, they're accessing an encoded memory of it, already present in the collective human mind. Is it fringe? Absolutely. But it's also the frontier, the blurry edge where neuroscience, quantum theory, and depth psychology start to overlap. So, if these stories are so intriguing, why aren't they widely accepted? Because mainstream science, especially in Western academia, relies on measurable, repeatable, falsifiable data. It demands mechanisms, it demands controls. And consciousness doesn't behave predictably in a lab setting. Remote viewing results are statistically significant in some trials, but not reliably repeatable across all studies or all viewers. Skeptics point to confirmation bias, pattern recognition, and subconscious leakage as alternative explanations. There is no known physical mechanism for mental signal transmission. And until one exists, most scientists file these phenomena under interesting but unprovable. Basically, if it can't be weighed, timed, or repeated at will, it doesn't meet the threshold for scientific certainty. And yet, some of history's greatest breakthroughs, like electricity, magnetism, and germs, were all dismissed early on as invisible nonsense. One of the biggest questions is remote viewing a rare gift, or is it a trainable skill? The US programs didn't just use natural psychics, they trained regular people, including soldiers and analysts, using step by step protocols. That suggests remote viewing might be more about tuning in than being special. Kind of like learning to play an instrument. It's not about talent alone, it's about practice, awareness, and refinement. So you want to have a try. You want to try to remote view. Well, here's a basic remote viewing experiment. Have someone place a random photo in a sealed envelope, one you've never seen. Sit somewhere quiet, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Describe what comes to mind, shapes, textures, emotions. Don't guess, don't force it. Write or sketch your impressions, then check against the target. Even if you don't hit the mark, you're still practicing focus and subtle awareness, valuable skills no matter what. So I know many of you are probably thinking, what's going on, Snail Trail? Why are we talking all this consciousness and remote viewing stuff? Why aren't we talking trails and outdoors? Well, this is where it comes full circle. Back to the outdoors. In wild, remote places, things get quiet. Attention sharpens, thoughts slow. That internal static fades. There's a reason ancient cultures sought mountains and caves for insight. Nature isn't just scenery, it's signal. It tunes us back in. If the mind can perceive beyond the scenes, nature may be the best place to explore that potential. And I'll just wrap this up with some final thoughts. Look, I'm not a scientist, I'm just someone fascinated by the unknown. But if consciousness can reach beyond the body, it challenges everything we think we know about perception, reality, and what it really means to be human. Maybe the brain isn't the limit. Maybe it's the lens. And maybe the trail that matters the most doesn't lead outward at all. It leads in. What's going on, guys? Thanks for watching. Go check out snailtrailoutdoors.com where we got tons of free resources. like our new snail guide, AI powered snail guide that provides expert travel advice, can help you plan the perfect adventure. Try it now for free. We also like to introduce our new travel plans. These are fully downloadable PDFs, jam packed full of information. If you want to go to the coolest spots around the globe, make sure to check these out. We've got all the information you need. Also, check out our blog, find a bunch of cool stories on here, maybe find some inspiration for your next trip. That's snailtrailoutdoors.com, where you can find expert travel advice, tips, guides, and everything you need to plan the perfect adventure.